Good morning, good day, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all races, ages, genders, sexual orientations, religions, etc. I have to say, the person I'm going to be covering today is one I've been interested in for a while now. This stems heavily on the fact that he was born in the city I call home. I first heard about him from the renaming of multiple U.S. Army installations that were formerly named after Confederate leaders. He was a soldier in the U.S. Army, a hero, and a legend. I'm talking, of course, about William Henry Johnson. One may ask, who is William Henry Johnson? And why did he deserve an army installation named after him? Well, William Henry Johnson was born around the 15th of July, 1892, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He moved to Albany, New York, when he was a teenager. There, he would work various jobs such as a chauffeur, soda mixer, and a red cap porter. On the 5th of June, 1917, 2 months after the United States entered the First World War, Johnson enlisted in the United States Army and was assigned to Charlie Company, 15th New York Infantry Regiment, an all-black National Guard unit based in Harlem with mostly white officers as their leaders and commanders. 4 months into Johnson's enlistment, he would marry Georgia Edna Jackson in September 1917. Johnson would train for some time in segregated Camp Wadsworth, South Carolina, before his unit was deployed to France in December 1917. While in France, the unit would later become the 369th Infantry Regiment under the 93rd Infantry Division. The 93rd Infantry Division were assigned non-combat roles, such as unloading supplies from ships and digging latrines. Despite being members of the United States Army, many white soldiers did not treat their black service members with respect and even refused to be in the same trenches with them. The 369th Infantry Regiment were detached and deployed with the French forces under the orders of Major General John J. Pershing on the 8th of April, 1918. They would work with the French 161st Division. Johnson would later be promoted to the rank of sergeant. The 369th Infantry Regiment was assigned to Outpost 20 near the Forest of Argonne, which was the beginning of 191 days straight in the frontline trenches of the Meuse-Argonne offensive. There, they received French equipment and learned the language. During the first few weeks, they did not see much combat. This would change on the night of the 14th of May, 1918. Johnson and fellow soldier Needham Roberts were on a night patrol near a bridge they were guarding. They were receiving a surprise attack from a German raiding party, which is said to have comprised of 36 soldiers. They made their way to the duo's position. Johnson opened a grenade box and ordered Roberts to run back and warn their French allies. He threw grenades at the incoming enemies, to which they returned fire. As Roberts returned to assist Johnson, he was wounded by shrapnel. Johnson would eventually run out of grenades, with more enemies approaching them. Though he was wounded by gunfire, Johnson still returned fire at enemy forces until he ran out of ammunition. With no ammunition for his weapon, Johnson resorted to hand-to-hand combat and using his weapon as a club. While combating German forces, he noticed them attempting to capture Roberts. He then used his last remaining weapon, a bolo knife. Johnson used the knife to kill 2 German soldiers before getting shot again. Despite the mortal wound, Johnson continued to defend the lives of his own and Roberts. The courageous soldier deterred German morale so much that they decided to retreat. Johnson not only prevented German soldiers from approaching the main French line, he also prevented them from capturing Roberts. Despite suffering 21 wounds during the incident, Johnson was able to kill 4 German soldiers and wound between 10 to 20 others. Following the battle, and receiving much-needed medical care, Johnson and Roberts were among the first Americans to be awarded France's highest award for valor, the Croix de Guerre. The event earned him the nickname Black Death. The 369th Infantry Regiment returned back to the United States in February 1919. There was a victory parade for the heroes in New York, led by Johnson on Fifth Avenue. He was even personally greeted by the then New York Governor, Alfred E. Smith, and other officials when his train arrived in Albany. Though he was seen as a hero, Johnson was discharged from the Army despite still suffering from his wounds. His discharge papers did not mention his wounds or the valor he displayed. Additionally, he did not receive any disability pay after the war, leading the government and the American people to forget about him. Johnson would return working as a Red Cap reporter, though his injuries during the war would prevent him from maintaining employment. He was unable to support himself and his family. On the 1st of July, 1929, Johnson would pass away at the age of 32 due to myocarditis. He was buried in the Arlington National Cemetery 5 days later. Johnson's sacrifice and dedication to defending and fighting for his country in the face of racial prejudice and hate contributed to the victory of Allied forces in World War I. His actions would not be noticed until much later. Interest grew of Johnson's heroics in the 1970s and 1980s. A monument of Johnson was erected in Washington Park in November 1991. He would later be posthumously awarded the Purple Heart in 1996, the Purple Heart in 2002, and the Distinguished Service Medal in 2003. Lastly, in 2015, Johnson would posthumously receive the Medal of Honor. Most recently, Johnson took over the name of Confederate Army General Leonidas Polk, located in Louisiana. Thank you for watching this video. I gotta say, I enjoyed researching Johnson and learning why he was worthy of being remembered over a Confederate general. It also makes me wonder how many others have done similar actions as Johnson and have yet to be recognized for their actions. Let us hope something like this never happens again, and those who sacrificed or permanently altered their lives for their country, regardless of skin color, can receive the proper payments and help they need post-armed services. With that being said, thank you for watching, take care of yourselves, make good decisions, and have a wonderful rest of your day.